Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann. I am a professional network marketer and actor, and I'm also an EFT practitioner. And I've so been looking to this interview with Shannon Kelly. Hi, Shannon.
How are you? How
I'm
are you?
really well. But I know for you, it's about 5 o'clock in the morning, which is just amazing.
It is. It's 5 o'clock here in Saskatchewan, Canada. So I got up really early to hang out with you guys today.
I'm so grateful. So, for those of you that don't know, Shannon Kelly is an author, a speaker, a transformational coach, a podcaster, and also creator of Vintage Gypsy Magazine. So before we kind of get talking about all of that, Shannon, people who perhaps don't yet know about you might be thinking, oh my goodness, Shannon's must have had life really, really easy. But, I know a bit of your story and I know that's far from the truth. So I know you were brought up by a single mum. How was that? Was she a great role model? What was life like then?
Well, I think we follow in our parents' footsteps. I was also a single mom, but my mom, she worked really hard, and so she taught us that. She instilled that in us. She always worked. And so I when I look back at it, I find that sometimes I have this tinge of I feel sorry for me because she was never there. But but when I look back at it as an adult, I see that she really worked hard and she instilled that in us. It was you do what you have to do to take care of the people that you love. And she did that. And I remember one time that she actually pawned off her wedding rings to buy us winter boots. And the funniest part of that, or not funny part of it, is that we were like, 12 years old, my sister and we didn't want to wear the boots because we were too cool at that point in our lives. We were like, we wanted to wear running shoes to school because it wasn't cool to have these big, clunky, warm winter boots. And, I look back at that and I think, oh my God, how devastating for her
Oh my
to,
goodness. Yeah.
yeah, she was a really hard worker, and yeah, I honor that about her now.
Did she
Maybe
ever get
not so
her wedding ring
much.
back?
I do believe she did. I do believe she did, and you know what? I can't even answer that because I'm not sure, but I remember feeling guilty for not wanting to wear the winter boots. And yeah, and just, being a teenager. So I was a horrible teenager. I was always a rebel
I
back
was going
then.
to ask you about that because you actually talk very openly about your wild days, the drugs, the booze. Can you remember how it felt to be Shannon back then?
I do because, and I think all people go through this stage in their life. Maybe not all people, but I've always been a rebel at heart. And I was always just trying to find myself, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that my mom was always gone. She was always working. And my dad left, and I think I looked for love in all the wrong places. And I was always just trying to find something um in me that made sense. And I think a lot of people struggle with the fact that they're trying to fit into this um, conformity or this society in one way or another. I mean, we all want to create something where we feel fulfilled and we feel joy and we feel, peaceful, and we understand who we are. I mean, as humans, we're all trying to figure out who we are and what we offer to the world, right? And I think some of us just struggle more with that than others. Um, I think there's a lot of expectations, in this world. And as we move through our teenage years and we're trying to live up to these expectations, we find ourselves, struggling. And I'm not the only person who's ever turned to drugs and alcohol and all of these things to try and make sense of my own life or to just try and stop overthinking it all.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to that because I did too. So you
Yeah.
you mentioned briefly love. I know that you actually married your school sweetheart, didn't you?
Oh,
And then you had
he was
children.
handsome.
And
Yes.
that's really when you decided to change your behavior. So tell us about that.
Well, I married my high school sweetheart and he was handsome. I mean, I'm an 80s child and he showed up at high school. He had like this long dark hair and he had this Iron Maiden t-shirt on. And I seriously thought he was a prince to me. And it didn't turn out that way. He we got married, we had some kids. I thought, in my own mind, I thought I was doing things right. I was getting married and having kids and doing the things that were expected of me at that time. And um, I mean, and everybody knows that having children is not an easy task. And so, especially when you're trying to do it by yourself and your husband, drinks a lot and he's doing a lot of drugs and he's never home and you're always just trying to figure it out, right? And I did get divorced from him, but I learned a lot of things along the way. Um, Him and I are actually still very good friends. We still talk every week. I've been divorced for over 20 years. He'll always be, that person in my life that um, I'll always love him because he was just such a big part of my life, whether it worked out or it didn't work out. Um, you know, I was on a different place on my journey than he was. And I still am, but I still appreciate the friendship that I've had with him for, many, many, many years. So, yeah.
Mm. It's really common, isn't it, for parents to somehow feel that they've failed their children in some way, especially when their kids aren't happy. I know you felt that, didn't you?
My kids really, oh, that's a story in itself. My kids really struggled with anxiety and depression, and I was also a single mom. And of course, I feel like I contributed to that in a way that I wasn't there for them. And of course, we can beat ourselves up all day long about the things that we didn't do right when it comes to raising our children. I look back and I think about the limiting beliefs that I placed on them because I didn't know better at the time. My kids are thriving now and they're doing well, but it wasn't always like that. And um, I look at them and I think the message there is that it's not really about what you think, it's about what you do and how you behave because it doesn't matter what you say, your kids still grow up to be just like you. So I I always say, as long as you're taking a leadership role in your life, then your kids see that and they start to follow that path. They follow you because you're their mentor, you're their person. And so when I started on my healing journey, probably 6 or 7 years ago, and I started making all of these huge changes in my life, I actually started seeing those changes happen in my kids as well. And we talk about it a lot. And it really is beautiful because your kids turn out to be just like you, whether you want them to or not. So it's like I see myself turning into my mother every day, right? And I tried to not do that my whole life. So
Oh my goodness, I know. Every time I look in the mirror, I see my mother. It's absolutely scary. So, back in 2015, when Vintage Gypsy Magazine began, I think it was about that time, wasn't it?
yeah.
You were actually working a full-time job too, which is amazing. So, what was the drive behind the magazine, Shannon?
It's funny because even at this point on my journey, um, I'm not really sure. I was at this place in my life where I finally thought that I had it all together, that I was living in a place where society could, appreciate who I was and I could appreciate that. I thought I was doing all the things right. I had a government job, I had a pension, I had, paid days off and holidays and I had a lot of flexibility so that I could, take care of my kids and all of these things. And when my kids started to get older, they were teenagers and they didn't really want to hang out with me anymore. I just was looking for something for myself to do. I was looking for something, some inspiration, something that filled me up. And I had turned to writing because that was something I always did as a child. I had always kept a journal. I had always written, and I always found joy in that. So I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start a blog or something. And so I just went online and I started, investigating and researching all these things. And I came across this course that said how to start a magazine, $400. So I took this $400 course on how to start a magazine, and that was it. I just started a magazine. And what I realized is through the process was that I really wanted to create a platform for all women to share their stories, because I felt so disconnected from myself and just from the world my whole life. And I thought I can't be the only woman in the world who feels like this. And so I wanted to create a platform where all women could just come and share their stories and not have, it's not um, where you have to be an excellent writer to do so. It's just if you're willing to have courage to share your story, then I'm going to publish it for you. And that was kind of where I started with that. And so, yeah, Vintage Gypsy Magazine is going into 6 years now.
It's absolutely amazing, really. But not only that, you also became a transformational coach. Now, when did you do that and why did you do that?
Um, because I started on this healing journey and I learned so much. I hired myself a business coach and a mentor, and she taught me so much. And she actually said to me, this is how we change the world. We change the world by you taking the information that I give to you and now you give it to somebody else. And I thought, if I can make all of these changes and feel like this in my life, I want to show other women how to do that. And I think that is exactly how we change the world, one woman at a time. I take everything that I learn and I give it away. And I give it to other women so that they can thrive and feel peaceful and feel joy and just feel unapologetic. We've all made mistakes in our life, so it's time for us to move past that and just understand that they're just mistakes. There's no shame in that. There's no guilt in that. Take everything that you've learned, stand in a place of power, and open up the path for other people to follow you, just like I watched my kids follow me.
I love that. And we can't actually be successful at anything or get better at anything if we don't make mistakes, can we? So that's inevitable. So
Yes,
that's
exactly.
a courageous thing to do, to be willing to make mistakes and fall over and get back up again, time and time again.
Well, and I think as women, I think that's who we are at our core. I think we're very resilient. You know, we we get up every day and we show up no matter what our life looks like. We get up every day and we show up to take care of the people that we love. And I think as women, that's our strength, is to just keep showing up. And so we might as well use that for good in the world, I think.
Absolutely. How important would you say is it to embrace yourself and follow your own path?
Oh, there is nothing else. I think that we all desire to feel connection with others. I think we all desire to feel that innate joy, like that peaceful feeling where, you know what, I feel good about what I do every day. I'm happy, I'm joyful, life is good. I mean, I believe that we're divine creatures of this universe, and I don't believe we're here to suffer. I think we're here having a human experience. And at the end of the day, you can't take any of it with you. So, how do you want to live your life? I mean, we live in a very, conformed society, a very colonial um, kind of patriarchy where, money and power and greed are very prominent in the way that, our world runs. Um, I think women need to step up and change that. I think we need to get back to a place of, you know, very connected with our environment, connected with our children, connected with our friends and with our communities. Um, I think that's where true joy actually happens.
Yeah, I agree. And I know you touched a little bit on leadership, and I want to talk about that actually, because you actually say it's more important than ever to take a leadership role in your own life. Say more about that.
It is. Well, it is, right? And it's kind of like, I've said it before, even in our conversation. When we start to take that leadership role in our own lives, it gives other people permission to do the same. It inspires them to do the same. they're like, hey, she's doing it. Well, if she can do it, why can't I do it? And why can't my children do it? Why can't every person in the world, step up and lead their lives from a place of joy and from a place of peace and harmony, and just do what makes you feel good. And you give permission to other people to do the same.
It sounds such a big deal though, doesn't it? The title leadership, like, I'm sure for some people they think, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to kind of, change policies and, kind of really, really, step up big time. But what are you talking about for, what kinds of leadership are you talking about?
Well, I think really it comes back to creating space in your life to understand what it is that you truly desire. And I think, um, when I work with women, this is one of the things that we talk about, because I think women don't actually know. I ask women all the time, what is it that you truly want to have in your life? What is it that you truly desire to call in for yourself? Like, what do you want your life to look like? And, we get to this point in our lives, we spend all of our time nurturing and caring for all of those people that we love, which is very admirable. But it comes back to, what is it that you desire? We don't even know as women. I ask women all the time, and they're like, we have to think about it because we don't know. We get so lost in the caring for everybody else that we don't actually know what it is that we want. And I think when women start taking that role of just finding out what it is that they truly want to do with their lives, what will bring you joy, what will bring that peace and that joy and that happiness to you. Um, I think it's kind of a sad thing when we all have to stop and take 2 weeks to kind of think about that. we know we don't know as women because we've spent so much time taking care of everybody else.
Yeah,
And
I
so
guess
I
that.
think, well, I think that's where the leadership comes in, right? And I don't think that leadership has to be a big word. I think it's really just tapping into what you desire within yourself, and it doesn't have to look a certain way. Maybe you want to make some art. Maybe you want to sing or dance or, write a book, or just, it doesn't have to look a certain way. It just has to have you stepping into that fully and saying, yes, I'm claiming this for myself. I'm choosing this for myself. And I think that's what leadership is. I think it's just choosing for yourself what it is to have what it is that you truly want.
Brilliant. What would you say, Shannon, to someone who doesn't see themselves as a leader in their own life right now? What would you say?
I think we're all leaders in our own lives. Like I said, I think we're just, I think we have to get back to that place where we feel like, I always say, I'm a badass warrior goddess, because that's how I want to feel every day. And I want every other woman in the world to feel like that too. And it really is just tapping into your own desires and your own wants and your own needs. And it doesn't have to look like, a self-care ritual. I think it goes further than that. I think it's, really claiming that for yourself. And I think we all have that within us. um, we have to step up and claim it and choose it for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've done so many extraordinary things and lived a very full life. Of all the things that you've done, Shannon, what are you most proud of?
Oh, that's tough. I think, I mean, on a personal level, of course, I'm most proud of my children, and I'm most proud of the journey that they've been on, and that I had the honor of guiding them and mentoring them through their hard times. I think we're very close knit. Um, there's a lot of communication that goes on between me and my children, and I think that's an accomplishment as a parent. In my work, I've done a lot of things, but I'm not done yet. So I don't know. I did a music festival. I was proud of that. I was really proud of that. I did a free music festival. I was doing an interview with a young woman for the magazine, and she's a really beautiful young up and coming country music singer. And I knew her for quite a few years, and so I was doing an interview with her for the magazine, and she says, I asked her, because I always ask, what is it that you want? What is it that you truly desire to have in your life? And she said, I want to do a music festival. And so I said, okay, let's do that. And we ended up putting on this free music festival in downtown Prince Albert, here where I live. It was free for everybody to attend. We had a big kids tent, we had vendors, we had all of these beautiful local artists come. We did fundraising for women's groups. It was an incredible day. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh my God, I really did that. I really pulled that off. And I had never done anything like that before. So I was, I thought it was pretty crazy. So yeah, we did it for 3 years in a row. And it was just, it's just one of those things that I believe I can do anything. Um, I believe that whatever I decide, whatever I choose for myself, I can make happen. And I've proved that to myself over and over and over again, which is why now I choose to help other women do the same thing because I've watched it happen in my own life.
Fabulous. And will there be another music festival when the time is
Well,
right?
yeah. So actually, last year we ended up getting a really beautiful grant from the Saskatchewan Arts Board, and they had given us a substantial amount of money, which was more money than we'd ever had to put the festival on in previous years. And then the whole COVID thing, so we kind of got shut down, and so I'm not sure what it looks like for this year. I'm hoping to do it again this year. Um, but it's yeah, I haven't quite wrapped my head around that yet. I know it'll come to me though, so it's
Yeah,
good.
it always does.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah, and I sorry, I think I think the answer we all have those answers within us, and sometimes, we just have to cut through all the noise, and I believe that the answers come. So,
and sometimes we need someone else to prompt that, don't we? Someone to facilitate that, which of course is why you do what you do and make that difference. So obviously
yeah.
I'm going to be posting your links below this interview, but finally, before we close, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I have a couple words of wisdom um, that I would like to share with all of your viewers. Freedom lives on the other side of fear. I think as women, as humans, we desire to live a life that brings us joy and brings us peace, and it really is about stepping into that. There's always a lot of fear as we move through the pieces and try to move forward in our lives in whatever ways that we do, and that there's that old saying of stepping out of your comfort zone. I say stepping, through the fear or through the gates of resistance. And once you step on the other side of that and you realize your very own potential to make things happen in your life, then you really start to understand your power, and you start to understand that you do have that leadership value within yourself, and great things can happen. Really, really great things can happen. And it really is about just tapping into what it is that you truly want, because you can make it happen.
Absolutely. Shannon Kelly, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Julie. It's been such an honor to connect with you and have these chats. So, yeah, thank you for allowing me to come and share a bit of my story.